Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome to New Earth Consciousness. I'm here with Louise Siwicki, and I'm so excited to get into this conversation about fertility. Louise, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tanya, for having me. I'm so excited to chat, and let's do it.
Yeah, so you're my first guest that I've ever had the expertise is all around women's fertility. And I feel like it's a really important topic and doesn't actually get talked about very often, but it's an important one. So tell us a little bit about your background and your own personal journey with this.
I guess for me, I struggled with, my partner and I, or husband, struggled with infertility for 6 years. And we hit rock bottom. During that 6-year period, we essentially did everything, and we just didn't fall pregnant once. And I was working in a really high stressful job. I was a person that was just living in masculine energy, push, need to control. Anything I set my mind up until this point, I generally achieved. And it wasn't working. There was nothing happening. Like, I just was not falling pregnant. And as the years rolled on, my mental health obviously started to decline, and we ended up in hitting rock bottom. I ended up with celiac disease, adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue, and depression. And I went into my fertility specialist office that ended up being that last time, and she said to me, Lou, obviously another negative pregnancy test result, but she said to me, Lou, she said, under the circumstances, I cannot treat you for 6 months. You need to go away, and you literally need to sort out your mental and your physical health. Otherwise, this is never going to work. And for me, that was like somebody had shot me in the head. Like, I was just devastated. It was the worst news that I could have received, but also the best at the same time. And that was kind of everyone's got that sliding doors moment, or the rock bottom moment that changed everything. And for me, that was the moment that literally changed my whole entire life. I went home that night and I took my dogs to the dog park, and I looked up to the universe and I said, I need help. Like, there is something I'm missing, something I'm not seeing, something's not right. What is it? What do I need to know? And I finally started listening. I spent 6 months healing my mind and my body. I got a team of professionals, holistic professionals, both from the spiritual, the medical, the scientific, practical perspective. And I was just like, who do I need in my life to help me heal my mind and my body?
Can I ask you how old you were when you got that, blow?
I was 36. So
young.
I was really young, and there was nothing physically wrong with me. Like, on paper, there was no reason why. We were healthy people. I wasn't falling pregnant, but it wasn't working. And it wasn't until I started to do the work and unpack what was really going on behind the scenes. I had a lot of generational trauma that I hadn't dealt with. There was a line of mental illness in my family. There was relationships that I needed to heal. One of the biggest ones was obviously with myself. Like, I hated myself. On the outside, I looked like I had this perfect life, perfect life in inverted commas. I had a partner that loved me, a family that loved me. I had great friends. We traveled the world. I had a job that most people thought was, incredible. But I was so unhappy. I was desperately unhappy, and I hated myself, like, literally, and I just didn't even see it until I started to unpack what was going on. I was scared. I was living in constant fight, flight. My mind was poisoning my body. And I just had no idea. Until I did the work and I started to heal my mind and my body. I took the 6 months off, and like I said, I listened to what I needed to do, and I followed the signs. And in that time, my husband and I got married. We'd been together for 13, 14 years before that, and it was actually a spiritual healer that said to me, Lou, I think during this time frame, I think one of the reasons is you don't feel safe. And I think that you need to get married to your partner in order to feel that sense of safety and connection. And we were at the point where I was just like, I'm happy to be a life partner. Consciously, it didn't bother me, but obviously my body was, and my unconscious mind was telling me otherwise. So we got married, and literally in the January, 6 months to the day after I walked out of my fertility specialist office, I went back in, and she took a whole lot of bloods for my next round of IVF, as you do. And then the next day, she called me on the way home from work, and she said, "Louise, down." I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I was pregnant." And literally 9 months, pretty much to the day after we got married, I gave birth to my first son, and naturally. And obviously every journey is different, and what that looks like for everyone is very individual. But the mind-body spirit connection is undeniable. The mind and the body are obviously inextricably linked. So this is a really important focus for fertility, and the mind, mental well-being, mental health, spirituality, how that affects fertility is often not prioritised. It's often we look at the physical, so everything physical, tick all the boxes, we can write nutrients, do the right amount of exercise, drinking alcohol, all this stuff. But we need to prioritise our mental.
Yeah. Louise, your sound is doing some weird stuff. I mean, I can hear you, but it's kind of like it's doing this in and out thing. But I did hear that you were stressing the importance of the mind and the body connection, and like how we're speaking to ourselves and all of that. So I was straining a little bit to hear. Can you just try saying something so I can see if the sound is better?
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Perfect.
Oh,
Now you're
all right.
loud and clear. Awesome.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah. So you were through so I'm hearing that, like, on a subconscious level, getting married was the thing that helped your body to relax on a deeper level and to be more open to receive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it was, I mean, obviously there's not just one thing, but
Yeah.
safety is really important. Obviously, the body needs to feel safe in order to easily conceive and bring a baby into the world. And I think for me, that was one of the biggest underlying, that was kind of one of the main factors that was keeping me from feeling safe within my body.
Yeah.
And I didn't even consciously know it. It was, consciously we'd both made a decision. We were both happy with that decision. And it actually never crossed my mind that would be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously subconsciously there was something there that said no for you, and this is obviously different for everyone.
Sure.
You need to get married to feel that sense of safety, or to add to that sense of safety. And when that lady told me that, I was just like, no, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Like, and then I kind of thought about it, and I was like, okay, well, maybe there is something in that. So then when I sort of started to explore that a bit more and really unpack that, yes, there was, obviously.
Yeah. What else had to shift for you?
I had to stop being scared, I think, and just allow myself to let go, to trust the process, to trust the universe, to trust that everything is working for me, not against me. I was so living in constant, I was scared. So I was pushing. I was living in that masculine energy, the need to know. I need to know the timeline. How is this going to work out? That really desperate energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was coming from a place of scarcity. Like, I was scared that it was never going to happen. Of course, that's very normal to feel like that. We all feel like that.
Yeah.
But the thing that shifted was my ability to lean into trust and faith and truly let go and surrender to the process, and say, you know what? I truly believe that this is going to happen, not in my timeline, but in the timeline, that the divine timeline, the timeline that it's meant to happen in, I have no control over that. What I do have control over is opening myself up, listening to what I need, what my body needs, what the signs are telling me, and moving towards that direction in faith and not fear.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like the biggest shift really was to trust that you could do less. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's, and I don't know, I mean, I'm guessing that for a lot of women who are facing fertility issues, they get into maybe the overdoing even in addressing that. Like, oh, I've got to get everything perfect. Just take the perfect supplements, exercise, eat right, like do. And so they end up putting a lot of pressure on themselves, which then makes it, I imagine, even more difficult.
100%. We are all doers now, and a lot of my clients are high performing women in business, entrepreneurs. Whatever they put their mind to, they succeed at, they've achieved. They've got their to-do lists. We've got to, and we tick everything off. We tick all the boxes, and that makes you feel like you've achieved something, or you've made a success of yourself, or you've done something. And this is the same. IVF, fertility it becomes, unfortunately, part of your identity. And it's just like, well, I'm getting really good at this. Like, this is all the to-do list, and I'm ticking all the boxes, and I'm, doing everything right. But yet I'm doing everything right, but yet I'm not moving forward. And in some ways I'm actually going backwards.
Yeah.
How does that work? And that then creates a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, a lot of like, this is really different for me. And fertility, calling a baby in, is all obviously about feminine energy, about flow, about, just allowing and receiving. And this is a completely different space to what a lot of women who are struggling have been accustomed to being in. So it can be really scary to kind of step outside of the box and go, hang on, this isn't working for me. This isn't serving me. Maybe, trying a different way. And that obviously then presents a lot of uncertainty, doesn't it?
Yeah. So what so what do you do with your clients to help them to step into or reclaim their feminine energy, their divine feminine energy? Because I imagine that most women that are having fertility issues, they think, okay, I'll just go to the doctor and they're going to have me take these things and whatever, maybe hormones. I don't know what happens, but and then that's it. There's not much else beyond that. So yeah, share with us, what is it that you bring to the table for your clients?
I guess for me, it's like, okay, well, it's now, it's about stress reduction. It's about calming that nervous system. It's about bringing the cortisol levels down, because at the end of the day, we're all living in this constant stress response mode, and this is creating, this is increasing the body's not feeling safe, from that perspective. So we need to reduce stress. We need to reduce anxiety. We need to bring calm to the nervous system. And that's all through different tools and strategies and techniques, breathing, grounding techniques, a lot of hypnotherapy, that kind of thing. And it is also then about relearning a new way of life. It's like, okay, allowing space for joy, for happiness, for, all of those things. How can we bring more, what did you used to do before infertility? Most of my clients loved their life. They had fun. They incorporated joy and happiness, laughter, and all of the things. So what did we do before infertility? Incorporating that back into our lives, reconnecting back in with our happy hearts, lifting our vibration again to that vibration of love. And this obviously doesn't happen overnight. It's baby steps. And a lot of my clients are really busy. They've got full schedules, So it's about, maybe can we find 5 or 10 minutes in the beginning, morning and night, ways we can find joy, happiness, or even calm, depending on the client, allowing space, to listen. So
Yeah.
it's not just one thing. It's obviously, people think it's kind of, there's going to be one kind of big moment and then all of a sudden you're going to be changed. And it's really not like that. It's actually all of the small steps and all of these small little changes that add up to something really powerful and create the big change that you need, the transformation that you need to move yourself forward. And, it's not just about babies. It's like at the end of the day, at the heart of it, we just want to be truly happy, don't we? So let's find our happy hearts again. That's really what it's about.
So important. And especially, I mean, I could see where, I mean, I remember a friend of mine who was very type A personality, very driven, um, struggled with infertility, and she was able to conceive eventually. But what I noticed with her, it's like, if we're choosing to be a mother, if we're not, it's like it's more than just, like you said, just getting pregnant, because then you have the process of actually carrying the baby to full term, right? So it's not like, okay, great, I'm pregnant now I can go back to my doing, and then beyond that, like, then you have the baby, and then it's like, are you giving yourself the time to at least take that first month to really be with that infant? I see so many mothers give birth and 2 weeks later they're back at work.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Wait a minute, you work so hard. Like, yeah, what's really happening here? I think there's a much deeper spiritual initiation, I would say, right?
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of it is about having the faith to let go of control and take the foot off the wheel and just be present in the moment and enjoy whatever it is. We don't have to be in the doing all the time in order to keep moving forward career-wise or life-wise. Like, sometimes it's in the quiet that we're actually making more progress. And I think that's a big lesson that has to be learned, especially before you become a mum, because when you become a mum, you've got this baby, you can't actually do anything for a very long time. Like, there's many weeks where you just stuck, like, you've got, like, you actually are stuck pinned under a baby, and
Yep.
you can't think, you can't, you sleep deprived, you just have to let go, trust the process, go with the flow, and say, you know what, in this moment, this is where I need to be and nothing else matters.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard lesson to learn, but it's a good one if you can learn it beforehand, which is, I know it's really hard to understand when you're in the throes of fertility issues, and I certainly didn't get it when I was in it, but that journey was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it made me stop, and it made me learn, and it made me transform, and it made me into the human that I am today, and the mum that I am today for my beautiful children, the wife, the business person, all of the things. Like, I did not have the skill set that I have now before fertility. And for many, it's a journey, unfortunately, that, I say, to my clients, look at this as an opportunity. Yeah, it's one that you would never, ever wish on your worst enemy, but we're in it. So we can look at it as an opportunity, or we can see it as something that's going to, consume our every waking moment and fall into that victim mentality. And I mean, that's getting us nowhere. It's just making us bitter and angry and all of the things, but we're no closer to becoming a mum. So let's look at this as an opportunity for growth, for healing, for learning, for all of the things, and let's get you moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. If people can shift their perspective that it's an opportunity, because I think once you work through those infertility issues, I mean, you're not only just working on your own fertility, but it sounds like it's actually your whole being, your whole health. It's not just, looking through one little keyhole. It's, yes, you're addressing the fertility, but in order to have that, you've got to address the whole person. And once you have that transformation, it feels to me like you've actually just given yourself a tremendous gift of being more of who you're actually meant to be to begin with, right? Baby or no baby. It's like, you know, yeah.
I had this conversation with a client last night. We were talking about safety and
Yeah.
and what she's not seeing and how she wants to feel. She wanted to feel calm. She wanted to feel confident. She wanted to feel in control. She wanted to feel like she could live life and not be overwhelmed by all this anger. And I said, well, you can and step into that now. There's no, you can make the choice to feel like that now. You know, it doesn't magically change when you have a baby. Actually, all of the feelings actually magnify. So what you're feeling beforehand. So if you're going into a pregnancy feeling stressed, anxious, angry, you know, overwhelmed, all the things, and once you have that baby, those feelings are going to be magnified. Like you don't kind of just have the baby and it's like, wow, you know, I'm happy. Of course you are happy because you've just given birth. But, you know, we just kind of think, well, once I fall pregnant, once I have a baby, it's all fine, you know, like, and it's not. Like, it's a new journey. And sometimes it's a tougher journey emotionally.
Yeah.
And so starting the work now before you get pregnant is the greatest gift that anyone can ever give you, because you don't have to then navigate that later on, because you can start it now. And which means that emotionally you're going to be so much more equipped, so much more resilient to be able to navigate the pregnancy and then obviously the birth and the baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's one other thing I wanted to say that I think is important. We talked about it before pre-interview. I think a lot of women that face infertility end up really blaming themselves, like there's something wrong with them, and really taking all of it as that it's their fault. When in reality, I mean, it's clear that now that our bodies, we live in a toxic world. I mean, we do. You know, there's just, I know for myself, when I got married, I had a baby as a single mother, and then when I married, we had tried to get pregnant, and took it took 5 years. We had intention of having a baby, and it just wasn't happening. And then I just noticed, like, I had the fatigue and everything, and I ended up working with my naturopath and decided to run a heavy metals test. And I had so many heavy metals in my blood. You know, it's like, where did that come from? And so to say, there's also the physical component. So I think it's really important too, that if you're facing infertility, that yes, certainly the mindset and the lifestyle is important, but there's definitely the physical component that has to be addressed as well. So I just have to say that for anyone that's facing it, like, like, it's not all your fault. Right?
And it's not your fault at all. None of this is your fault. It's just one of those things. Like, nobody has any idea why it happens, and it's a really, really tough roller coaster, emotional roller coaster filled with so much, grief and sadness and anger and trauma and all of the things, and all of those feelings are valid, every single one of them that you're feeling. And like you said, let's look at fertility. Like, let's start talking about fertility in a holistic way. The mind and the body are equally as important. Let's look at everything. Like you said, we're living in a toxic world now. Is there anything kind of in your environment or inside your body in terms of that maybe, keeping you stuck or preventing you from moving forward? Look at the mindset, look at the mental well-being, mental health, look at the medical perspective as well. If you look at your fertility and they say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village sometimes to create a child. So find that village, find that team of people that are going to help you move forward, that you trust. Listen to them and listen to them only. Don't do Dr. Google. Don't listen to everyone, because everyone's an expert. There's so much information out there, which is wonderful, but it can also be very toxic as well. So find the information that you trust, find the team of professionals that you trust from a holistic and a medical perspective, and also obviously practical perspective, and, all of the things.
Yeah.
And really listen to what they've got to say, and
Yeah. So I'm curious if the clients that you work with, now I know everybody is unique and everybody's path is unique. What's like on average, like how long do you work with somebody? What does it vary? Is it sometimes 3 months? Is it sometimes a year? Like what is the journey expected more or less to look like?
I mean, it really, like you said, it depends on every individual where they are. There's obviously so many different factors. Most women that I work with are kind of anywhere from the 3 month to year. I've got a client at the moment that I'm supporting, and I've been supporting her for a year and a half. She fell pregnant under my care and now has given birth. So now it's kind of, we're looking at, motherhood for her and the stresses around that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, nothing happens overnight, obviously. So, it took you a lifetime to get to this point. So, nothing happens overnight, but within the first 8 weeks, 12 weeks, you notice a big difference. There will be a massive difference forward. The transformation is starting to happen by that stage. It really is.
Yeah. I imagine just making the decision is a big shift in and of itself. Anything that you're trying to heal, once you decide, okay, I've had enough, I'm ready to dedicate to really shifting this at a fundamental level. And I think that like making that decision is like the most powerful first step. And then everything can just evolve from there. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, that decision is everything. Like you have to, and I can't work with everyone either, because they have had to make that decision. If they haven't made that decision already, then it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to stay in a similar position, because you haven't made that decision to change, or, that the way you're living or how this is, is not serving you. And it's obviously not getting you to where you need to be by, becoming a mum. So that decision to change is everything. And that's literally 95% of the journey. It's like, once that decision's made, it's like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah. Making that full body commitment.
Yeah, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm sick of
this.
I'm not. Yeah, like I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to prioritize. And once you make that decision, watch how quickly things start to shift. Honestly.
Yeah, amazing. So how can people find you? What do you have? What kind of packages? How do you work with people? Let the audience know.
Yeah, absolutely. I work one-on-one. I have one-on-one mentoring. I also do an amazing group program called Your Fertility Revolutionized. And there's just something beautiful about community, getting women together and in the room that truly understand. There's just something really powerful about community, especially in the fertility space where you can feel so isolated. So I love her, and she's seen such amazing results. I also do consulting for workplaces. I've kind of got the two arms of the businesses, so I work with individuals, but then also workplaces around education, training, opening the discussion. Let's make fertility not a taboo subject anymore. Let's normalize conversations, and that's another part of the business that I really love, because it's just impacting so many, and it's making those in the workplace feel so much safer, more supported, and have the ability to come forward and say, hey, this is happening to me, how I need support here from workplaces. So they're sorry.
interesting. That's interesting. I hadn't heard. So you actually work with, I guess, corporate, just
Yeah, like,
to
yeah.
these women are trying to have babies and this work environment's not supporting them. Is that kind of the approach, or how
Well,
do
well,
you?
yeah. Well, I guess, well, sort of, yeah. I mean, it's more about, it's really okay. Well, I host a lot of lunch and learns, just where, like, we go into organizations, very high level. What is infertility? How can we support somebody who is on their fertility journey? What are the needs of someone? What is it like for an IVF cycle? What do they practical, physical, emotional, all of the things. So it's just, and this is, talking to educating the whole organization. So it's like opening the path for discussion,
Yeah.
Educating managers, leaders, wellness, learning development, all of anyone in the organization that may come in contact with someone who is struggling with fertility issues. And if they haven't been on their fertility, like, you don't know what you don't know. It's like, well, how can we emotionally support these people? How can we physically, like, what do they need from a practical point of
Wow.
view? What do we say? Because there's stuff that it's all well-meaning, but uh, at least you don't have kids you can sleep in, or, you don't have to worry about kids, so you can go on a holiday and you can do it outside school holidays because it's not expensive, or you can just go home and have a wine, and, like all of the things that are just kind of well-meaning because you just think it's, you're trying to make that person feel better, but it's actually really triggering. And it can actually send that person into a spiral at work. So it's really about opening that discussion and educating the workplace on, what potentially do we say, and what do we steer clear of when we're talking to our colleagues, our work colleagues as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that
Yeah.
you're bringing the awareness to just around women's bodies in general. Like, I feel like that's just the difference between men and women. For a lot of men, they can just, the hustle is normal to them. They just can just go, 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 go. And women are different beings. We have different requirements. And so I love that you're bringing that awareness to the workplace. It's really powerful.
Yeah, it's something that is still very taboo, especially in Australia. We still don't talk about it much. For me, I struggled in corporate for 10 years, and 6 of those were fertility related stress, and it was within the legal industry, and it just wasn't talked about. It certainly wasn't discussed, and there was no way that I felt safe enough to say anything. I would find out about a negative pregnancy test 2 minutes before having to go into a client meeting and present to hundreds of people and act like nothing had happened.
Yeah.
Administer all of my drugs, all of the medication in the disabled toilets. I was putting my hands over my mouth so people wouldn't hear me crying, all of the things. And I was just like, it doesn't have to be like this, and this is adding more stress to what is already a very stressful situation for so many. So, how can we advocate? How can we stand up for those people that potentially just don't feel they can in the moment themselves?
Yeah. Thank you, Louise, so much. I really just love what you're bringing forth for women, and especially, this topic, like you said, is taboo. It's not talked about. And unfortunately, infertility is on the rise, right? Like the numbers just keep going up. And so this is, and obviously just approaching it from a medical perspective is not enough. We have to support the mind, body, spirit wellness of a woman in order to help her conceive and create her family. So thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, I just want to say, well, thank you, Tanya, for having me. But also, if you are listening and you are struggling with fertility, like we talked about before, this is not your fault. It is just one of those things in life that is happening. It is really a horrific, traumatic experience, but it's not your fault. It's please don't blame yourself. Your body has not failed you. You have not failed your body. You have not failed your family. please don't think like that, you know, and everyone feels like this that is going through it. So let's normalize how you're feeling. If you're angry, don't get angry at yourself for being angry. It's okay. We all feel like that, you know. It's okay to not be okay. So I just want to let anyone know that's listening that, you know, this is by no means, you know, please feel safe and supported in that knowledge that you are
Yeah.
not alone.
Yeah. You don't have to face it alone either.
No.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Louise. It's, yeah, so beautiful to connect. And thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much, Senya, for having me. It's been a pleasure and lots of love.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.